Carly Rae Jepsen, The Loneliest Time album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Carly Rae Jepsen, Canadian pop darling of the last few years, who for a while I just was not feeling what she was doing. I mean, whenever I go back and listen to her debut, Tug of War, it is just the sort of folky pop garbage that I've just avoided entirely over the last decade. And even her breakout album Kiss, which had the very memeable Call Me Maybe, as well as some decent deep cuts like this Kiss, just overall wasn't vibing with me as far as a full album is concerned. It wasn't until the point where she released Emotion that I became a mega fan overnight. It is a modern classic, as well as the fantastic B-sides that followed it up shortly after. Between the retro-tinged 80s beats, Carly's incredible lyrics, as well as her performances, I became an absolute mega fan overnight. And her follow-up album, Dedicated, I mean, I was not expecting anything perfect. I mean, Emotion just set these big shoes for Carly to fill, but I thought she did really great, and it's a very, very good album that I think I was even too harsh with it when I did review it, and I did enjoy it a lot. Which leads me to her latest album, The Loneliest Time, which I thought the majority of the singles leading up to this album were really good. Let's chat about it. This album starts off with Surrender My Heart, and right off the bat, damn you, Carly, damn you for doing this. This is a sort of twinkling, very larger than life pop explosion of an intro. And if you've invested in her last few projects, you know exactly what you're getting. You're getting the big synths, you're getting the heartfelt songwriting, you're getting the larger than life performance. And yeah, it's fantastic, which leads me to Talking to Yourself. Damn you, Carly. I think this is the best track here by far. How is this such a perfect pop anthem? To call this track a banger would be a slight. This is one of the best pop tunes I've heard all year. It's got a great driving beat, pristine production, and quite possibly the biggest hook on this album. I've adored Beach House since it dropped. It's one of the quirkier and sort of funny tracks on here. It's also really sassy, really fun, and this bright, sunny beat is just what the doctor ordered. It's short, it's sweet, and genuinely has some really hilarious interludes. Benz, on the other hand, has this really sort of shifty, Twilight beat that Carly Rae does really great on, especially with her very tender performance. To me, this sounds like the next obvious step after her last album, Dedicated. It's so dreamy and hazy, and Carly just kind of works her way through it all really nicely. It ends up warming my damn heart. Now, this album, the thing is, I don't think it's as consistent as Dedicated or Emotion, but that being said, even when she's off of her A game, she is still so much better than 90% of pop stars right now. Take, for example, Joshua Tree. One of my biggest issues with this album is just how slow it gets at times. This is just a laid-back, funky jam that I just don't think really suits her style very well. I mean, her vocals are fine, but the full picture here, this is so far from where she's been the last few years. It's just a little safe, as is Far Away, which once again, I feel like is tame. And I don't have the biggest issue with Carly slowing things down. There are some pretty decent slow tunes on here. We'll get to those. But there's nothing about this track that plays to Carly's strengths. That's what hurts. It's just really average, and worst of all, it sounds like she's trying to find her footing and not somebody who's been knocking it out of the park with her last few albums. And Sideways is just, God, it's not even cute. It's just kind of awkward. This beat just plods along and doesn't do anything, especially not for Carly. And her vocals here just are not up to snuff. And lyrically, while not necessarily bad, I can just tell you that she's done so much better than this. I feel like we've been here before. So Nice is a little too light and fluffy for me. It's a little too soft. It's a little too ho-hum. I just know that she could do a lot better than this. I mean, it's lyrically fine. It's, kind of on par with where she's been over the years, but the sort of glitzy production on this track, once again, I just don't think it's really, doing much for her. It just really doesn't do anything to grip me at the end of the day. And sadly, Go Find Yourself or whatever is not my cup of tea either. I wanted to get lost in this track, as Carly seems to do, because you can tell right off the bat, this is a hard one for her. This one just really hits home. It's just a little too stripped down for me. It reminds me of her sort of folk pop, almost country pop beginnings. Even Even if this album is a little bit more lopsided than usual, though, I'm still giddy for so much of it. And Carly is doing some great things in pop right now. And even her, at her worst, at the end of the day, is better than half of the modern pop stars on their best day. Western Wind, I'm not going to front with y'all. I hated it at first. At first, this was a nightmare back to her, tug of war sound. But the truth is, as far as a slower ballad goes, it is incredibly inviting. It is warm. It is sunny. It is feel good. And it's something that I don't usually, buy from her. It's just not usually the sound that I like to hear from her. But her performance here is so tender. You can just tell it means so much to her once again. And for that, yeah, this worked. Bad Thing Twice, this track is freaking good. I love the sleek bass and the shimmery production, and Carly freaking owns this groove. And from a sheer catchiness perspective, Carly's on another level. Shooting Star, on the other hand, is a very sleek, new disco-sounding banger with a ton of swagger. And at first, I wasn't as crazy about it, but Carly's performance here really makes it work. It's infectious, it gets in your veins, and I can't stop listening to it. And for a finale, The Loneliest Time featuring Rufus Wainwright, honest to God, it's just a great finale. It is a glistening, crystal clear pop tune that almost reminds me of, I don't know, Casey Musgraves' High Horse. There are nods to alt country, there are nods to classic 70s radio rock. And Carly and Rufus, they make a great pairing and have a ton of chemistry. This is a fantastic finale. Overall, this album is pretty solid, and I think that the good does outweigh the bad. And yes, I said this time around, it's a little bit more lopsided. Carly isn't as consistent as she's been since she put out Emotion, which is a little sad to see, but even her on her worst day gets me giddy and excited to listen to some really fantastic modern pop. And for the most part, yeah, that's what this is. Even if it is a little less consistent this time around, still, I'm feeling a decent 7 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.